બાયસેક લેક્ચર સિરીઝ મેથેમેટિક્સ 2010-11 માં આજે આપણે કન્વર્જન્સ ઓફ ઇન્ફાઇનાઇટ રિયલ સિરીઝ વિશે ચર્ચા કરવાના છીએ. એફઆઈ બીએસસી લેવલે આ જે વિષય છે એનું બહુ જ મહત્ત્વ છે અને મહાવરાનો વિષય હોય આજે એમાં ગૂઢ ચર્ચા કરવા જઈ રહ્યા છીએ. તો અમારા વિષયની શરૂઆત મેડમ શ્રી શાંતિ પ્રસન્ના આપણી સમક્ષ રજૂઆત કરશે.
The idea of infinite series originated, most people believe, with Sir Isaac Newton. Little bit of history is given in the first slide. Dr. George G. Verghese Joseph from the University of Manchester believes that the Kerala School of Mathematics from India, they identified the infinite series. They knew about power series expansions of trigonometric functions. But actual reference to infinite series occurs in Newton's work, the analysis per equations numero tensorium infinitas. But Newton and his contemporaries, they used infinite series, they multiplied them, added them by using laws of algebra without thinking very much about the convergence of the series. And often this led to some problems. It is the Swiss mathematician Leonhard Euler who first realized that algebraic manipulations of infinite series cannot be carried out in the absence of convergence. With this, a new impetus was given to the study of infinite series, aided by the work of the German mathematician Gauss and the French mathematician Cauchy. In your 11th and 12th standard courses, you have encountered arithmetic and geometric progressions. Consider the general geometric progression a plus ar squared etc. ar raised to n minus 1. Here there are n terms and you know how to find the sum of these n terms. The formula is given by a into 1 minus r raised to n divided by 1 minus r. But what happens if we don't terminate at n? We keep on adding more and more terms. You get what is known as an infinite geometric series. So what is an infinite series? It is an expression of the form a1 plus a2 plus a3 plus an plus etc. etc. which we denote symbolically as summation 1 running from 1 to n running from 1 to infinity an. For example, from this you are able to see that from the left hand side, you are able to see that a series arises very naturally from a sequence. For example, you are given the sequence 1 by n, you would obtain the series 1 plus half plus 1/3 plus etc. which is known as the harmonic series. The theory of convergence of series is very closely associated with limits of sequences. You have studied about sequences and their limits in your higher secondary classes. So let us quickly recapitulate some of the important results and ideas. What is a sequence? A sequence of real numbers is a function f going from n to a, the set n of natural numbers to r. Normally, when you have a function from a set A to a set B, you denote the image of f at the point x by the symbol fx. But what happens here if we use that notation, it will be very cumbersome to do the calculation. So in general, we denote the value of f at n by the symbol a suffix n, and we denote the general sequence itself by an covered by 2 curly brackets. What is the limit of a sequence? In a very crude way, we will say that limit of an is L if an approaches L as n becomes large. If you want to put it mathematically, we say that an tends to L as n tends to infinity. If given epsilon greater than 0, there exists n0 belonging to n such that mod of an minus L less than epsilon for all n greater than n0. In this case, we write limit n tending to infinity an equal to L, and we say that the sequence an is convergent. Sequence an is said to be divergent if it does not converge to any real number L in the sense of the above definition. A sequence may be divergent, in which case any of the following 3 situations occur. what happens is when given any real number m greater than 0, the terms might become arbitrarily large, they might overtake m after a certain stage. In this case, we say that an tends to infinity or an diverges to infinity as n tends to infinity. Given any m greater than 0, it may happen that after a certain stage, all ans are less than minus m. In this case, we say that an diverges to minus infinity. A sequence which neither converges nor diverges to plus or minus infinity is said to oscillate. These are elementary properties of limits you can see on the screen. Limit of a sequence, if it exists, is unique. The algebraic manipulations are possible. Limit of an is a and limit of bn is b. Limit of an plus bn is a plus b. Limit of an into bn is ab, and limit of the quotient an by bn equal to a by b, provided bn and b are not equal to 0. Here are some elementary examples. Look at the sequence 1 by n. It converges to 0. 2 raised to n diverges to infinity. Log of 1 by n, as n tends to infinity, 1 by n goes to 0, and log of 1 by n diverges to minus infinity. Minus 1 raised to n minus 1 into n upon n plus 1, alternately it takes positive and negative values. It oscillates between 1 and minus 1. Next, we introduce the two important concepts of bounded above and bounded below. A sequence an is said to be bounded above if there is a real number a such that an less than or equal to a for all n belonging to n, and bounded below if there exists a real number b such that an greater than or equal to b for all n. A sequence is said to be bounded if it is both bounded above and below. Look at the sequence 1 by n. It is bounded above by 1 and it's bounded below by 0. Minus 1 raised to n plus 1 into n, alternately the terms are 0, so other terms are positive, so it is bounded below by 0, but alternate terms increase without bound, so it is not bounded above. The next sequence minus 1 raised to n minus 1 n, alternately terms are positive and negative. On one side the terms increase, on the other side terms constantly decrease, so it is neither bounded above nor bounded below. Then a sequence an is said to be monotonic increasing if an less than or equal to an plus 1 for all n. Similarly for monotonic decreasing sequence. The term monotonic has come from monotonous, constantly the terms keep on going increasing. 1 by n is monotonic decreasing and 2 raised to n is monotonic increasing. The following theorem, which is called the monotone convergence theorem, is very useful in the context of series. A monotonic increasing sequence that is bounded above is convergent. The proof of this is beyond the discussion in a first year BSc class, but kind of you can have an imagined idea of the proof. For example, what happens is the sequence keeps on increasing, but it cannot go beyond a certain bound. So imagine there is a wall here, all the terms of the sequence approach very close to this, so they have to coalesce at some point. In fact, what happens is the sequence converges to what is known as its least upper bound. Please see in the next slide. The well-known sequence 1 plus 1 by n whole raised to n is monotonic increasing and bounded above. So the monotone convergence theorem tells you that the sequence is convergent and its limit is defined to be the Euler number E approximately equal to 2.7182. Now we have got the preliminaries out of the way. We can define how do we define the convergence of an infinite series. Start with an infinite series sigma 1 to infinity an. We associate a sequence Sn with the series as follows. Put S1 equal to A1, S2 equal to A1 plus A2. In general, Sn equal to A1 plus A2 plus A3 up to An. The sequence Sn is called the sequence of partial sums. Now there are two possibilities. Limit n tending to infinity Sn equal to S may exist, or the limit may not exist. If the limit exists, then we say that the series sigma an converges to the sum S. Otherwise, it is said to be divergent. Let us look at a couple of examples. Look at the example 1 by 1 into 2 plus 1 by 2 into 3 general term 1 by n into n plus 1. This series is known as the telescoping series. If you formulate Sn, you find that the alternate terms side by side they cancel, leaving you with Sn equal to 1 minus 1 by n plus 1. As n tends to infinity, 1 by n plus 1 tends to 0. So Sn tends to 1. So the series converges to the sum 1. Next, let us look at the geometric series. If you write Sn, it is the sum of the geometric progression. So it is a into 1 minus r raised to n divided by 1 minus r. If mod r is less than 1, r raised to n tends to 0. So Sn tends to a by 1 minus r. So the series converges in this case to the sum 1 minus r. But if minus 1 less than r, if mod r is greater than or equal to 1, limit n tending to infinity r raised to n does not exist. So the series is divergent. Then next let us look at the series 1 by root of n plus 1 plus root of n. If we rationalize, an equal to root of n plus 1 minus root of n. So from here we have an equal to root of n plus 1 minus 1. So limit n tending to infinity, Sn is infinity. So Sn diverges and the given series is divergent. So when you look at these three examples, you might feel that it is very easy to formulate Sn in every case and we will be able to decide the convergence on the basis of that. But it is not so. In most of the cases, Sn will be rather difficult to calculate. Plus, in many practical problems in physics and other subjects, it may not even be necessary to know the sum. Only thing we need to know is whether the series is convergent or not. So, in order to check the convergence, we give below some tests which can be used for checking the convergence. This is the most important preliminary test that can be done on any series. If sigma an is convergent, then limit n tending to infinity an equal to 0. Since sigma an is convergent, limit n tending to infinity Sn equal to s exists. Express an in terms of Sn and Sn minus 1. An can be written as Sn minus Sn minus 1. So limit of an as n tends to infinity is 0. This can be used as a negative test in the sense that suppose limit n tending to infinity an is not equal to 0, then the series sigma an should be divergent. Look at the series sigma cos of 1 by n. As n tends to infinity, 1 by n tends to 0. So cos of 1 by n tends to 1. Therefore, this series is divergent. Is the converse of the theorem true? Not so, because even though limit n tending to infinity an equal to 0, the series may diverge. For example, in the example 3, see this series. Here what happens? Limit n tending to infinity an is 0. However, we have already shown that this series is divergent. Then, the rest of the lecture we are going to be concerned only with series with positive terms. Let sigma an be a positive term series. Then sigma an is convergent if and only if the sequence Sn of partial sums is bounded above. This is a direct consequence of the monotone convergence theorem. Sn equal to Sn plus 1 minus Sn equal to an, which is positive. So Sn is monotonic increasing. So the series is convergent if and only if Sn is convergent, that is if and only if it is bounded above. Let us apply this and show that the harmonic series sigma 1 by n is divergent. We write s2 to the power of n and bracket the sums like this, 1 plus half, and the next bracket is 1/3 plus 1 by 4. Since 1 by 3 is more than 1 by 4, the second bracket is greater than 1 by 4 plus 1 by 4. Then we couple the next 4 terms. All of them are greater than 1 by 8, so the fourth bracket is greater than 4 times 1 by 8 equal to half. So s2 raised to n becomes greater than 1 plus half plus half plus half n times, so 1 plus n by 2. This shows that Sn is not bounded above. So by above result, sigma 1 by n is divergent. Using that, we devise a very nice test for testing the convergence of series. This is called the practical comparison test. Let sigma an and sigma bn be positive term series. Suppose an is less than or equal to bn for all n greater than or equal to m, then if sigma bn converges, sigma an also converges, and if sigma an diverges, sigma bn diverges. That is, term by term, if the members of a series are less than the members of a convergent series, then the original series is also convergent. Same way, term by term, if the members of a series are more than that of a divergent series, the series also diverges. The proof follows by writing the partial sums of the two series. Then we have an is less than or equal to bn. So if bn is bounded above, an is bounded above. If an is not bounded above, bn is not bounded above. So convergence and divergence follow from an, the relation between an and bn. Let us see two examples. Look at the series sigma an equal to 1 by n squared, bn equal to 1 by n into n plus 1. We have already shown that the series sigma bn is convergent. Now look at an. The first term of an is 1 by 1. You cannot compare it with the first term of bn. However, starting from the second term onwards, what is the second term of an? It is 1 by 2 squared. It is less than 1 by 1 into 2. 1 by 3 squared is less than 1 by 2 into 3, and so on. So term by term, starting from the second term, members of an are less than members of bn. We know that sigma bn is convergent, so by practical comparison test, it follows